And then we define some things like mass fraction. Mass fraction of each component is equal to mass of the component by total mass of the mixture. This is called as mass fraction. That is how much fraction of the total mass is this particular component. In the same way, mole fraction, okay, this is mass fraction. And the mole fraction is defined as given yi, and it varies with the textbooks. Each book uses different notation. I am following the notation of Sengel, and so yi is equal to ni by like this. So if I so mf1, mf2, mf3 are the mass fractions of each component, and if I take sigma mfi, so mm is constant. Okay, so this is mf1 plus mf2 plus etc. mfk and so this mf1 by, so this total will be equal to 1. Similarly, sigma yi, that is all fractions together, it becomes 1. Sorry.
Sir, it should be m1 plus
okay, it's not okay. Sigma mfi is 1. Similarly, sigma yi also is equal to 1 because n1 plus n2 plus etc. nm nk by nm. So the total number of moles by number of moles of the mixture. In the same way here also, yeah. Okay, like that. Sigma yi is equal to 1 and sigma mfi equal to 1. And so sometimes the problem will be given in the gravimetric analysis, and you may be asked to convert into volumetric analysis. Okay, and we know that the relation between them is mass is equal to number of moles into the molecular weight. M is equal to m is molecular weight. Sometimes called as molar mass. That is kgs for kilomole. Okay, so like that. So I can relate these two things, mass fraction and mole fraction. Mfi is equal to, we know that it is mi by mm. So this is equal to mi by mm. So ni by nm is yi. So yi by into. Okay, this is the way we can relate mass fraction and mole fraction. This is molecular weight of the component and the molecular weight of the mixture. And if I want to find out the molecular weight of the mixture, so this is equal to total mass of the mixture by the number of moles of the mixture. This is equal to, we can write as sigma ni. So this can be written as sigma, because sigma ni by nm is yi, so yi ni. We can get like this. And the gas constant of the mixture is so the gas constant of the mixture is universal gas constant by molecular weight of the mixture. So sometimes in the books it will be given R suffix U. Okay, so both are same. Universal gas constant is given like that. And so this okay, this is the way it will be. Sometimes you can see some problems like okay, this is the things. Mm is equal to sigma mi, nm is equal to sigma mi, mfi is mi by nm, and yi is ni by nm, This is mass fraction and this is mole fraction. And so if you have H2 and O2 two components having 6 kgs and 32 kgs, the mixture will be H2 plus O2 of 38 kgs, the total sum. This is mass of the mixture. Similarly, in mole basis, if it is 3 kilomole and O2 is 1 kilomole, the total is 4 kilomoles. And so sigma MFI is 1, sigma YI is 1. So you can see if H2 plus O2 and in the previous one, 3 kilomoles and 1 kilomole. So the mole fraction is 3/4 for this and 1/4 for this. So 0.75 and 0.25, the total will be 1. So YH2 is 0.75, YO2 is 0.25. Okay, so the molecular weight of the mixture is mass of the mixture by number of moles of the mixture. And so this we have done this sigma yi mi, because mass is equal to number of moles into molecular weight, and gas constant of the mixture is R bar by mm. And so this molecular weight of the mixture can be, it is given in terms of mole fraction here. In terms of mass fraction also can be given here. So this is mm, and nm if I write sigma mi by mi. And so this mm, if I divide in the numerator and denominator, so mi by mm it will become here. So mi by mm is mfi, so this will become. And also we also derived this mass fraction in terms of mole fraction. So mfi is yi into mi by mm. And so if you see some problems, 1 or 2 problems we will see, consider a mixture that consists of 3 kg of oxygen and 5 kg of nitrogen and 12 kg of CH4. Determine the mass fraction of each component. Okay, the total mass is 3 plus 5 plus 12, so total 20, and mass fractions will be 3/20, 5/20, and 12/20. And so like that we can do it. So 3, 5, 12, and 20, and mass fraction is 0.15, that is 3/20 is 0.15, 5/20 is 0.25, 12/20 is 0.6, and the total is equal to 1. And if I want to convert it into mole fractions, and I have to use the molecular weight of oxygen is 32, nitrogen is 28, and methane is 16. Okay, so the number of moles is equal to capital N is equal to small m by capital M, that is mass by molecular weight. So we have mass and molecular weight. So 3/32, so 0.094, nitrogen 0.179, methane 0.75. Okay, and these sum of all them, these are moles, number of moles of each component. So sum of all these three is 1.023. Okay, so this is the total number of moles of the mixture. So mole fraction is n by ni by nn. So 0.094 by 1.023, that is 0.092, 0.17 by 1.023, 0.175, like that I can get all the mole fractions. And if I add all these three, you will get 1. And if I want to find out the molecular weight of the mixture, that is mass of the mixture by total number of moles of the mixture, and mass of the mixture here is 20, and molecular weight of the mixture, the total number of moles of the mixture is 1.023. So 20 by 1.023, we will get 19.6 kgs per kilomole. And so this also can be obtained using the other relation, using mole fractions. So mm is sigma yi mi. So if I just multiply mi and yi and add all of them, you will get the same 19.6. And R of the mixture is universal gas constant by molecular weight of the mixture, 8.314 by 19.6. So like this, we can get the molecular weight of the mixture and gas constant of the mixture. And so there is another problem also to convert. So here you can see mass fractions are given, that is gravimetric analysis. It is converted into mole fractions, which is volumetric analysis or molar analysis. Similar problem, molar analysis to gravimetric analysis. If I am given the number of moles or mole fractions, okay, so that is 12%, that is 0.12 is the mole fraction of CO2, and 4.04 is the mole fraction of oxygen, 0.82 is for nitrogen, and so you can see it is the mole fractions are given, and we have to find out the mass basis. So same thing, CO2, O2, N2, CO, and the present by mole 12 for these are percentages. The total is 100. So per mole fraction is 12 by 100, 4 by 100, 82 by 100, and 2 by 100. So we get the mole fractions. And if I multiply the molecular weight, I will get the mass of each, okay, each component. So into 44, CO2 is 44, O2 is 32, N2 is 28, CO is 28, 16 plus 12. And we get all the masses of each fraction and the total each component. And total mass is this. And if you want mass fractions, 5.28 by 30.08, 1.28 by 30.08, like that, I can find out all the mass fractions. Okay, this is given per 100. So if I want actually fraction 0.1755, 0.0426, 0.7633, like that I have to write so that the total will be 1. It is out of 100. These are percentages. Okay, it is like percent by mole. It is percent by mass. In the same way, if I am given the percent by masses, so I can write the mass fraction as 0.1755, 0.0426, 0.7633, 1.26. Now here I have to divide by molecular weight so that I will get kilomoles. And again, if I find out the total, divide this individual number of moles by total, I will get the mole fractions. And again, if you find out in the percentage basis into 100, so I will get the same thing back. So it is volumetric to gravimetric, and here gravimetric to volumetric analysis. So you can find out the components on the mole basis and the mass basis. Okay, so that is the way we can convert. And now coming to the PVT behavior, there are two main laws. Okay, and the prediction of PVT behavior of the gas mixtures is usually based on two models. One is Dalton's law of additive pressures and Amigart's law of additive volumes. You might have come across this Dalton's law. I don't know whether you know about the Amigart's law. It is nothing, same thing. Suppose I have gases at different pressures, but the same volume and temperature. Okay, so gas A at V and T, but PA is the pressure, and gas B at same volume and temperature, but at different pressure PB. And if I combine them and having same volume and temperature, then the pressure will be the total pressure PA plus PB. Okay, so the pressure of a gas mixture is equal to sum of the pressures of each gas that would exert if it existed alone at the mixture temperature and volume. So if they exist, only A is there, the pressure will be PA. If only B is there, pressure will be PB. If A, B are there, the pressure will be PA plus PB. It is additive law. So Dalton's law of additive pressures. So it is the same way, Amigart's law of additive volumes are there. And if I have gas A at the pressure and temperature, which has a volume of VA, and some other gas at the same pressure and temperature, if it occupies volume B, and if I combine these two to have the same pressure and temperature, then the total volume will be the sum of the individual volumes. Okay, this is the volume of a gas mixture is equal to the sum of the volume of each gas that would occupy if it existed alone at the mixture temperature and pressure. Okay, sometimes it looks like common sense, but it may not work. Nature always, we don't know. Sometimes it behaves in a surprising way, but fortunately, here it behaves in a decent way, which we can understand. And so Dalton's law is Pm is equal to sigma Pi at same Tm mixture temperature and volume. And Vm is sigma Vi, Tm and Pm. So this is pressure of each component and this volume of each component. So this is component pressure, Va component volume. And Pi by Pm, this is called pressure fraction. Va by Vm, we call it as volume fraction. Okay, so for ideal gases, Dalton's law and Amigart's laws are identical and give identical results. Okay, so here if I have oxygen and nitrogen having same 100 kilopascal and 400 Kelvin, if it occupies 0.3 meter cube and it occupies 0.7 meter cube, and if I combine them to have the same pressure and temperature, the total volume will be 1 meter cube. Okay, so the volume a component would occupy if it existed alone at the pressure and temperature called the component volume. And for ideal gases, it is equal to the partial volume. This is called, and we will see here. So Pi by Pm, if I take, okay. So Pi by Pm is equal to, because P so here V and T are same, right? So if I divide one by the other, right? So Pi by Pm, so Va and Vm gets cancelled, Ti and Tm gets cancelled, and R bar is same. So this is equal to Ni by Nm. So that is equal to Ym. In the same way, we can see that Vi by Vm for the Amigat's law. So Vi by Vm, for which pressure and temperature gets cancelled. So Vi by Vm also is equal to Ni by Nm, which is equal to Vi. So the volume fraction and pressure fraction is equal to mole fraction. So Pi by Pm is equal to Vi by Vm is equal to Ni by Nm is equal to Y. Okay, so this equation is only valid for ideal gas mixtures, as it is derived assuming ideal gas behavior of the gas. Okay, because we are using PV equal to nRT, nR/T. So it is used only for ideal gas mixtures. Later we will spend some time on real gas mixtures. So the quantity YIPM, so YI into PM, which is PI, that is called partial pressure. Similarly, VI is partial volume. So or component volume or partial volume, this is component pressure or partial pressure. Okay, so usually we use these terms. Partial pressure of the particular component is so much, like that. And so note that for an ideal gas mixture, the mole fraction, pressure fraction, and the volume fraction of a component are identical. The component of an ideal gas mixture, such as the exhaust gases giving a combustion chamber, is frequently determined by a volumetric analysis. So many times air will have some composition. In the same way, exhaust gases will have composition. Usually for IC engines or gas turbines like that, we try to find out the analysis of exhaust gases coming out of that. So we will do what is called as volumetric analysis, and using RSET analysis, RSET apparatus, we use it and we get the volumetric analysis. That is how much is CO2, how much is NOx, and how much is unburnt hydrocarbons. All those things we get in volume basis. So we will see another problem. An insulated rigid tank is divided into two compartments by partition. One component contains 7 kg of oxygen at 40 degrees centigrade and 100 kilopascals. And the other component contains 4 kg of nitrogen at 20 degrees centigrade and 150 kilopascal. Now the partition is removed and the two gases are allowed to mix. Determine the mixer temperature and the mixer pressure after equilibrium has been established. Okay, so here each is having different temperature and pressure. Okay, 40 degrees centigrade and 100 kilopascal, and 20 degrees centigrade and 150 kilopascal. So we use what is called as energy analysis. That is, whatever energy is lost by, or whatever internal energy is lost by oxygen is taken by nitrogen. So we equate that is MCV dt of nitrogen is equal to MCV dt of oxygen. So the final temperature, I assume some Tm. So here mass of oxygen is 7 and CV of oxygen is given 0.658 and temperature difference is 40 minus Tm. And for nitrogen, mass of nitrogen is 4 kg and CV is this, and dt temperature difference is Tm minus 20. Here 40 minus Tm, here Tm minus 20, because Tm is between 40 and 20. Okay, so like that we can find out what is the mixer temperature. Okay, like this. MCV dt of oxygen is equal to MCV dt of nitrogen. If Tm is the final temperature, here write 40 minus Tm, here Tm minus 20, I will get 32.2 degrees centigrade. Now I want the pressure, right? So I have to find out, because partial pressures using that. So N of oxygen and N of nitrogen. So mass by molecular weight, it is 7 kg, this is 4 kg. So 7 by 32, this is mole fraction, sorry, mass fraction. Sorry, this is number of moles. Okay, number of moles of oxygen, this is number of moles of nitrogen. Number of moles of mixture is 0.362. Okay, so the volume occupied by the oxygen, if I use nr bar T by P, right? Because T and P are given and number of moles I found out here and R bar is known, I can find out what is the volume occupied by the oxygen. In the same way, volume occupied by the nitrogen I can find out, and the total volume of the mixture is the sum of these two. Okay. And so using PMBM is equal to NM R bar TM, and the TM is found out in the last slide, 32.2 degrees centigrade, and VM is found out here, 8.02, and R bar is known, and NM is total mass of the mixture is given. So I can find out the unknown, which is PM. Okay, so that is the way I can find out what is the pressure of the mixture. Okay, so this is the way we can find out. And the properties of gas mixtures, ideal and real gases. Okay, real gases, I will do it later. So coming to the properties of the gases, if you take extensive property is just sum of all the properties of the components. So suppose I have oxygen at some internal energy and nitrogen at some internal energy. If I combine them, the total internal energy is sum of the total internal energy, sum of the independent internal energies. Okay, so this is sigma ui. And if I write in terms of masses, Mi into specific internal energy, Ni into specific molar energy. Okay, molar internal energy. See, whenever I write number of moles here, I have to put here Ui bar. So this is kilojoule per kg. This is kilojoule per kilomole. Okay, so Ui bar is kilojoule per kilomole. And so if I multiply by Ni, I will get kilojoules. So that is the way I can find out the extensive properties of the mixture is just nothing but the sum of the extensive properties of individual components. Okay. And so the sigma, the change in the properties, that is change in internal energy, change in enthalpy, change in entropy if I want. So delta UM is delta UI only, right? In terms of mass basis, Mi into delta Ui, and in terms of mole basis, Ni into delta Ui bar. Okay, it is just straightforward. Everything is straightforward. And so the internal energy of each component is equal to the change in internal energy of each component is equal to the total change of internal energy of the mixture. Similarly for enthalpy and the entropy. Okay, so this is the way I can find out. Only thing is to know the properties of the mixture or change in the properties of the mixture, I have to know the properties or change in properties of each individual component, and either number of moles or number of kgs I have to know for each component, so that I can find out for the mixture. Okay, it is like this. If I have 2 kilomole of A and 6 and suppose if I want intensive properties, because I want small UM, small HM like that. So like this I can find out, and these can be extended to CB and CP also. MFI, CBA, MF, yes.
Sir, voice was breaking, sir. Can you please say again what you previously said, sir?
Okay. I have to go back.
Yes, sir.
Pardon? Okay. So here the extensive property of the mixture. Now is okay, voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the extensive property of the mixture is equal to sum of the extensive properties of the components. So to understand this, the figure is given here. So if I have 2 kilomoles of A and 6 kilomoles of B, each having internal energy of 1000 kilojoules and 18 kilojoules, the sum of the mixture is just the sum, the algebraic sum of these two, okay, 2800. And similarly, if I want to find out the change in the internal energy of the mixture, so delta UA and delta UB, if I know, delta UM will be sum of these two. Okay, that's what it is shown here. Delta UM is sigma delta UI, delta HM is sigma delta HA, like that. So this is the total extensive property. So total extensive property is nothing but mass into specific property, okay, or number of moles into specific molar property. Okay, this is kilojoule per kg, this is kilojoule per kilomole. Okay, so that is the way I can find out the property of the mixture, knowing the properties of individual components, and change in properties of the mixture, knowing the change in property of individual components. Okay, just you have to use sigma. So here, so again, if I have all the individual component values, and UM is sigma MFI UI. It is just like in the previous one. This is mass of the mixture into U small internal energy, specific internal energy of the mixture. If I divide by mm on both sides, right, here mi by mm will come. So MFI into UI. Okay, that's what you get here, MFI by UI. In the same way, here if I write it here, number of moles into molar specific energy, and then I can divide by number of moles here, Ni by Nm, I will get Yi. Okay, so that's what I get here, Yi Ui bar. In this way, I can find out the intensive properties of a gas mixture. If I know intensive property of each component, multiply by mass fraction and add them. Right, so like that I have to get. So I can get internal energy, enthalpy, entropy, and even CV and CP also are related in the same fashion. So properties for unit mass involves mass fractions. Properties for unit mole gives me uses mole fractions here. And the relations are exact for ideal gas mixtures, but approximate for real gas mixtures. As I told, we will discuss the real gas mixtures sometime later. Okay, there is Gibbs-Dalton law. Under the ideal gas approximation, the properties of a gas are not influenced by the presence of other gases, and each gas component in the mixture behaves as if it is existing alone. Okay, that's what in Dalton's law and Amigat's law we have seen. It behaves as if it is existing alone, and it possesses some pressure and volume. In the same way, the mixture temperature and the mixture volume. And so the HU, CV, and CP of an ideal gas depends on temperature only and are independent of the pressure or the volume, because normally CP and CV are functions of temperature. So the delta SI, okay, actually forget about this. This is the Cp log T2 by T1 minus R log P2 by P1. Okay, so here SI2 minus SI1 minus RA log PI2 P1, and the CPI, that is for this particular component, TI2 minus TI1 minus RA log PI2 by PI1. So here PI2 for that is partial pressure of final, that is YI2 PM2, and PI1 is YI1 PI1 PM1. Okay, so this is partial pressure, final partial pressure, and this is the initial partial pressure, and this is final temperature and initial temperature of the component. Okay, so we will see some problem also. So a mixture of ideal gases consists of 3 kg of nitrogen and 5 kg of carbon dioxide at a pressure of 300 kilopascal and a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. Both are having the same pressure and temperature. Find the mole fraction of each component. Right, here masses are given, and you have to find out mole fraction. Mass fraction, we know that 3 by 8 and 5 by 8 are the mass fractions. If I want mole fractions, so the number of moles is 3 by its molecular weight. 3 by 28 is the number of moles, and here 5 by 20 is the number of 28 is the number of 5 by, this is also, this is 32 plus 12, 44, right? So 5 by 44 is the number of moles of CO2. And if I add, I will get the total number of moles. And so 3 by 28 by 3 by 28 plus 5 by 44 gives the mole fraction of nitrogen, and similarly CO2. Okay, like that we get the mole fractions. You can see here. So the here X is actually Y we are using. In the another book it is used as X. These are mole fractions. Okay, so Ni by sigma Ni, and so for nitrogen it is 3 by 28, and the total number of moles is 3 by 28 plus 5 by 44. This is the mole fraction of nitrogen. And mole fraction of carbon dioxide, because this is 5 kgs, so 5 by 44 by 3 by 28 plus 5 by 44 is the mole fraction of carbon dioxide. So if you add these two, you can see that this total will be 1. So this is the way we get the mole fractions. And we are asked to find out the molecular weight. So here m is equal to xi mu1 plus x2 mu2. Okay, here yi m1, y2 m2. Okay, like that. So the only notation is different. Here mu is molecular weight. Okay, so 0.485 this mole fraction into its molecular weight 28, and this mole fraction in its molecular weight is 44. I get the total molecular weight of the mixture. Okay, that's what it is asked, the mole fraction of each component and the equivalent molecular weight of the mixture and the equivalent gas constant of the mixture, right? So we can do in different ways. So the mass of the mixture is 3 plus 5, 8 kgs, and you can R is equal to the mole fraction of this into R of this, and the mole fraction of this into R of this. Okay, so Mn2 by M, MCO2 by M, these are mole fraction, mass fractions, into the R of each component. So like that. Okay, it is done in a straight formula. We need not write like this. Okay, so this is 3 by 28 into R of the R bar, and 5 by 28 into 44 into R bar is equal to this. Okay, this is the way I can find out R. And so the partial pressure is because Pi by P is Yi. So Yi, don't get confused with the notation, please. Okay, so the partial pressure of N2 is equal to the mole fraction of N2 into the total mixture pressure. So pressure is 300, and this 0.485, 0.515 if I use, I will get the partial pressure of each gas. And so I can find out the volume in the same way as we had done in the previous problem, right? So like this, the volume we have found out. In the same way here also we can find out the volume of each component. So you can use the mass of nitrogen and R of nitrogen and T and the partial pressure. So you can get 0.87 meter cube for CO2 0.923 meter cube, and the total volume I can find out. So the total volume of the mixture, either you can add these two 0.87 and 0.923, or I can use the mixture properties, right? So here you can put the mixture mass and mixture temperature, mixture pressure. So 8 into 0.229 into 0.293 by 300. This 0.229 is R of CO2. Okay. So this is 1.7. So density of the mixture is density of the total mass of the mixture by volume of the mixture. Total mass is 8 and volume I found out 1.79 here. Like this I can find out. Okay, this is the way I can find out, knowing the masses of each component of the mixture at a given pressure and temperature. I can find out the mole fraction of each component, and we can find out the molecular weight. We can find out the gas constant. We can find out the partial pressures. We can find out the partial volumes and the total volume and the density of the mixture. And Cp and Cv also we can find out in the same way, right? We have seen how to find out the internal energy or enthalpy or entropy or Cp or Cv of the mixture. So using the mass fractions. Right. Cv of N2 is actually here we are given gamma of CO2 and N2 are given in the problem. Okay, 1.286 and 1.4. So CV is equal to R by gamma minus 1. R we have all, R bar is 8.3143. Gamma, if I find out, I can find out CV. Okay, these are actually okay, CP and 2. So CP, because CP by CV is gamma, CP is equal to gamma into CV. I will get this because gamma is 1.286. So for CO2, gamma of 1.286, I use that here. So CV and gamma I can find it. So for the mixture, because I got CP and CV of each individual component, CP of the mixture is Mn2 into CpN2, MCO2 and CpCO2 by Mn2 and this. So I can find out the CP of the mixture and the CV of the mixture also I can find out in the same way. And there is an extension to the problem. If the mixer is heated at constant volume to 40 degrees centigrade, find the changes in internal energy, enthalpy, entropy of the mixture. So that is, we have to find out MCV dt. Okay. So T is given, T1 and T2. So it is increased from 20 degrees to 40 degrees. And the CV is already calculated and mass is known. So I can find out MCV delta T is change in the internal energy of the mixture is MCV delta T. So this is mass of the mixture, this is CV of the mixture, and 40 minus 20, this is change in enthalpy. Similarly, internal energy, change in enthalpy, MCP delta T, and I have to use the mixture values here. And change in entropy, MCV T2 by T1 plus MR log V2 by V1. Or you can use MCP T2 by T1 minus MR log P2 by P1 also we can use, right? So one of the formula I can use, and this is the way I can find out the change in entropy. Yeah, here it is given. Okay, if it is, because previously it is done at constant volume, so this will not be there, and only MCV log T2 by T1 will be there, and I get this. And if mixer is heated at constant pressure, I use the other formula, MCP log T2 by T1 minus MR log T2 by T1. And here, because it is constant pressure, this term will not be there. We will get MCP log T2 by T1. So in the previous formula, we use CV here, and here we use CP. Like that, I can find out what is the change in entropy of the mixture. Okay, so that is the way I have to solve a problem of the mixture. So the masses are given. We are finding out we can find out mass fraction, and using the molecular weight, you can find out the mole fraction, and the total mass, total moles also I can find out, mole fractions I can find out, and you can find out the molecular weight, gas constant, and then partial pressures and partial volumes, and the total volume by adding the partial volumes, and the inverse of volume is density, specific volume is density, and the CP and CV of the mixture also I can find out. And okay, and R is gamma is given. So, and using one of anything, CP and CV and gamma, we can find out, because gamma of each component is given. And then when it is heated to 40 degrees centigrade, I can find out what is delta T. And it is at constant volume. First it is heated, and he is asked to find out when it is heated to constant pressure also. So here, based on the thing, whether it is constant volume or constant pressure, change in internal energy and enthalpy will be MCV dt and MCP dt only, because it is independent of the process. But when you come to change in entropy, so one of the term will become 0. So you have to take the appropriate formula. So like that, I can find out the change in entropy. And one more problem we will see, expansion of ideal gas mixture in a turbine. So I have a mixture of oxygen and carbon dioxide and helium, 3 gases, and mass fractions are given respectively. Enter an adiabatic turbine at 1000 kilopascal and 600 Kelvin and expand to 100 kilopascals. Inlet conditions are given and exit pressure is given. The isentropic efficiency of the turbine is 90%. For gas components, assume constant specific heats. These are given as data. Actually, CV and CP of all the gases are given. the work output per unit mass of the mixture, we have to find out output, and the XSG destruction I have to find out. So work output, if I find out, and then change in entropy I can find out. If I find out change in entropy, T naught delta S also I can find out XSG destruction. And the second law of efficiency also I can find out, because work output is the maximum work that I can get, and that is XSG obtained, okay, and XSG destruction. And these two, if you add, XSG in I will get. So XSG destruction by the total of work output and XSG destruction gives me second law efficiency. Okay, that is the way I have to find out. And so here, so isentropic, if you assume it is isentropic expansion, so T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. I have to use that. But for that, I have to get the gamma of the mixture. And how to get the gamma of the mixture? I have to get the Cp of the mixture and Cv of the mixture. So using the component Cp and Cv and mass fractions, I can find out Cv of the mixture. I can find out Cp of the mixture. So I can find out Cp minus Cv of the mixture R, and Cp by Cv gamma of the mixture. So I have to first find out R of the mixture and gamma of the mixture. Then I have to use the isentropic relation T2 by T1 equal to P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I can find out T2. So once I get T2 and T1, we know that mCp dt, that is change in enthalpy, will give me the work. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So Cp of the mixture, for all the three components, we know the mass fractions. We know the Cp of each individual component. I can find out Cp, and Cv of the mixture also I can find out. So R is equal to Cp minus Cv. So I get this, and gamma is Cv by Cv of the mixture. So I can find out gamma and R of the mixture. So T2S R isentropic T2 dash is T1 into P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. This is 265. So this is actually isentropic temperature, and using efficiency, I have to find out the actual temperature. That is, suppose so efficiency of the turbine is T1 minus T2 by T1 minus T2 dash. Okay, so actually I want to find out T2. So T2 dash by T1 is P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I know P2, I know P1, I know gamma of the mixture, and I know T1. So I'll get T2 dash, which is the isentropic temperature here. And using the formula here, I can find out what is T2. So T2 is equal to T1 minus eta T into T1 minus T2 dash. Okay, so if I take this side, eta T into T1 minus T2 dash, and T2 is equal to T1 minus this. So like this, I can find out T2. So once I know that, so the work is equal to work of the turbine is mCp into T1 minus T2. So this is the work. This is W or availability. Okay. Okay, like this. So this is T2 dash by is equal to T1 into P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I find out isentropic temperature. Actual temperature T2 is T1 minus eta T into T1 minus T2S. I will get this. Once I get this, so W out, that is H1 minus H2 Cp into T1 minus T2. I get the work output. And so the change in entropy is which is Sgen is equal to Cp log T2 by T1 minus R log P2 by P1. And I know T2 by T1 and I know P2 by P1. So, and I know R of the mixture and Cp of the mixture. I can find out what is the change in entropy of the mixture. And X destruction is T naught Sgen into T naught into S2 minus S1. So I can find out what is the XSG destruction. And what is XSG in? XSG recovered, that is the output plus XSG destruction. This is last. So this much of XSG is given, out of which this is recovered, that is W out, this is destroyed. Okay, so that is this one. So this output is here 666 and 666 plus here the 79.2. This is the input, XSG input. So XSG input by output by XSG input gives me the efficiency. Or I can write 1 minus XSG destruction by XSG input. So like that also we can write. So which gives me the second law efficiency. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And we'll see one more problem and we'll complete this class. XSG destruction during mixing of ideal gases. Okay. So previously it is during expansion and it is just mixing. An insulated rigid tank is divided into two compartments by partition as shown. One compartment contains 3 kilomoles of oxygen and another 5 kilomoles of carbon dioxide, and both are having the same pressure and temperature. Okay. Now the partition is removed and the two gases are allowed to mix. Assuming the surroundings are 25 degrees centigrade, T0 is given. Because if I want to find out XSG destruction, I have to find out T0 into Sgen. Okay, T0 should be given. S generated, I can find out from here and determine the entropy change and XSG destruction associated with the process. So change in entropy is change in entropy of each of the component. Okay, so that is this. And here the temperature change is 0 and partial pressures are different. So Pi2 by Pi1 I have to put. So for that I have to use the mole fractions here, because the partial fraction Pi by Pm, sorry, Pi2 by Pi1, that is here Yi2. Okay, so the moles of each one is 3 plus 5, total 8 kilomoles, and mole fraction of Y is 0.375, 3 by 8, and mole fraction of carbon dioxide is 5 by 8, 0.625. And if I use that, okay, so delta S of the mixture is R into NO2 of log YO2, because this temperature one will become 0 for both of the components, and only the second component will be there for both of the components. So NO2 into log YO2 plus NCO2 log YCO2. And this is R bar we know, and this is number of kilomoles of oxygen 3, and Y of O2 is 0.375 plus 5 into 0.625, that gives this. So this is Sgen into T0 will give me XSG destruction. So like this I can find out the XSG destruction for the mixture. So I should be able to find out, knowing the properties of the mixture, the change in properties of the mixture when there is a process takes place, and I should be able to, because once I can find out the change in properties, either whether it is internal energy, enthalpy, or entropy, and the change in entropy will give me Sgen, and destruction if I want, so I have to multiply by the ambient temperature, so I can get the XSG destruction. Okay, this is the way we can solve the problems of the mixture. Okay, so you can go through the problems that are given in the books, all the 3 books which I have prescribed, that is Nag, Bornake, and Sengel. You can feel comfortable. So next class I will spend time on real gas mixtures. So today we will stop here with ideal gas mixtures. And we will go for the story. Any doubts? Any doubts? So you have to be careful when you whether you have to put mass fraction or mole fraction. It depends on the properties, right? And you have properties per kilomole, you have to use the mole fraction. If you use the properties per kg, you have to use mass fraction. Okay, so that is it. So here this is Cp bar and this is R bar. That's why I use mole fraction here, because I have moles, number of moles. And if I have masses, then I have to put here Cp only, not without bar, and here characteristic gas constant I have to use. So this particular thing only you have to be careful. Any doubts? So we'll go to a nice story, a touching story. So it is one old fisherman story. Our house was, so one lady was narrating this story. Our house was directly across the street from the entrance of a popular hospital in the city. We lived downstairs and rented the upstairs rooms to outpatients at the clinic. And one summer evening, as I was fixing supper, there was a knock at the door. I opened to see a truly awful looking man. Why, he's hardly taller than my 8-year-old. I thought as I stared, he was stooped, shriveled body. But the appalling thing was his face, lopsided from swiveling, red, raw. Yet his voice was pleasant, and he said, "Good evening. I have come to see if you have a room for just one night. I came for treatment in this morning from the eastern shore, and there is no bus till the morning." He told me he had been hunting for a room since noon, but he had no success as no one seemed to have a room. I guess maybe it's my face. I know it looks terrible, but my doctor says with a few more treatments. For a moment, I hesitated, but his next words convinced me. I could sleep in this rocking chair on the porch. My bus leaves early in the morning. I told him we would find him a bed, but to rest on the porch. I went inside and finished getting supper. When we were ready, I asked the old man if he would join us. And no, thank you, I have plenty. And he held up a brown paper bag. When I had finished the dishes, I went out on the porch to talk with him a few minutes. It didn't take a long time to see that this old man had an oversized heart crowded into that tiny body. He told me he fished for a living to support his daughter, her 5 children, and her husband, who was hopelessly crippled from a back injury. He didn't tell it by way of complaint. In fact, every other sentence was prefaced with thanks to God for a blessing. He was grateful that no pain accompanied his disease, which was apparently a form of skin cancer. He thanked God for giving him the strength to keep going. At bedtime, we put a camp cot in the children's room for him. When I got up in the morning, the bed linens were neatly folded, and the little man was out on the porch. He refused breakfast, but just before he left for his bus, haltingly, as if asking a great favor, he said, "Could I please come back and stay the next time uh, when I have the treatment? I won't put you out a bit. I can sleep fine in a chair." He paused for a moment and then added, "Your children made me feel at home. Grown-ups are bothered by my face, but children don't seem to mind." I told him he was welcome to come again. On his next trip, he arrived a little after 7 in the morning. As a gift, he brought a big fish and a quart of the largest oysters I had ever seen. He said he had shucked them that morning before he left so that they would be fine and fresh, nice and fresh. I knew his bus left at 4 a.m., and I wondered what time he had to get up in order to do this for us. In the years he came to stay overnight with us, there was never a time that he did not bring us fish and oysters or vegetables from his garden. Other times we received packages in the mails, always by special delivery, fish and oysters packed in a box of fresh young spinach or kale, every leaf carefully washed. Knowing that he must walk 3 miles to mail these, and knowing how little money he had made the gifts more precious. When I received these little remembrances, I often thought of a comment our next door neighbor made after he left that first morning. "Did you keep that awful looking man last night? I turned him away. You can lose roamers by putting up such people." Maybe we did lose some roamers once or twice, but oh, if only they could have known him, perhaps their illness would have been easier to bear. I know our family always will be grateful to have known him. From him, we learned what it was to accept the bad without complaint and the good with gratitude. Recently, I was visiting a friend who has a greenhouse. As he showed me her flowers, we came to the most beautiful one of all, a golden chrysanthemum, uh, nothing with blossoms. But to my great surprise, it was growing in an old dented, dusty bucket. I thought to myself, if this were my plant, I would put it in the loveliest container I had. My friend changed my mind. She said, I ran short of parts, and knowing how beautiful this one would be, I thought it wouldn't mind starting out in this old pail. It's just for a little while till I can put it out in the garden. She must have wondered why I laughed so delightedly, but I was imagining just such a scene in heaven. And here is an especially beautiful one. God might have said when he came to the soul of the sweet old fisherman, he won't mind starting in the small body. Okay, that is the story. Really, it touched me. It's a beautiful one. And thank you very much. We'll meet in the next class on Wednesday. See you. Any doubts, you can stay back and talk to me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Shiv Prasad.